Hello there, welcome back to my channel. Today is Thursday, September 25th, and I'm just gonna be real and honest with y'all from the get-go. If you are watching this vlog because you need some motivation or positive vibes, you should probably turn it off because I don't think this is gonna be that kind of vlog, but it is going to be a very realistic vlog, and I'm just gonna be honest and vulnerable with you all because I'm struggling. I just feel like I'm doing everything I can and like still not getting ahead, and that can be very kind of frustrating and demotivating, and so I just want to be able to talk about it. Honestly, more than anything, I think it'll just be therapeutic for me to kind of process my thoughts, but let's just talk about it all. Okay, let's start with where we left off, because logically that makes sense. At the end of my last vlog, it was the conclusion of day one of a 2-day long PD where we had no students, but as teachers, we had various meetings to attend to, tasks to get done, etc. And at the end of that day, I think I was feeling pretty good. I actually got home fairly early, and I'm happy that I treasured that when I did, because I do not foresee that happening again anytime in the near future. But day 2 of the PD, I ended just feeling 10 times more overwhelmed than when I had started it. And that feeling has not really gone away since then. So day 2 of the PD, which was Tuesday, first for about an hour before school, I met with one of my team teachers to kind of go over planning out science and showing her, like, here's kind of my thought process going through the textbook and looking at the schedule for the week and trying to make those pieces fit. Then we had a staff meeting that lasted about an hour. We had some information about special education and tracking accommodations. Now, this is really coming down from like the state of Texas, but we will be implementing a new system to track student accommodations, and they're kind of easing us into it, which I appreciate, but at some point it will become where for each kid we have a list of their accommodations, and for each subject area for each day we have to mark which accommodations were used versus which ones were not used. And my brain is just not even ready to go there yet because I don't know when I will find the time to do it. I understand the purpose and I can appreciate the usefulness of it, especially when it comes to then having meetings and going, all right, which accommodations is this student still using versus which are they not? It's just a matter of, I don't know as a teacher for each subject, for each kid, for each day, like when I'm supposed to do that. But that's a problem for future Michelle. We're gonna get there. We also received some information about our first house day, which is next week on Wednesday. And I was asked again to kind of be one of the leaders for our whole group session for houses. So usually on house day, you have half of your time in whole group, and well, it's not quite half, but you have time in whole group, and then you have time in your small group where it's just students from your grade level that are in your house. And typically there are like 2-ish teachers that lead the whole group sessions, and I was asked to do that, which I'm more than happy to do. It's another responsibility where I'm like, okay, I've gotta, make sure I know what we're doing for the whole group session going into those days. Then 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade teachers had to stay behind the meeting to then talk about EB accommodations. EB is emergent bilinguals or emerging bilinguals, and just talking about like with upcoming testing, what accommodations they have and how to implement those, etc. Then we rushed from that meeting directly into our team planning. Now there's a little bit of good news with that. Because we had our team planning on Tuesday, I do not have it today. Usually we have it on Thursdays. So that at least is a glimmer. I'm gonna have planning time today, which again is probably not gonna be the case for the foreseeable future, but we'll come back to that. Team planning was fine. I don't think that in itself made me feel any more overwhelmed, but I have to consult my list because I had to like brain dump last night. When I get really stressed out, I have to go, okay, what is contributing to this? Like, what is making me feel stressed out?
Nothing stresses me out.
After that, I went into just trying to get stuff done from my checklist. So for example, those social studies packets that we get from our district, we don't use all of the pages, but rather than having my students rip out the pages as we use them, it was easier for me just to take them apart and divvy out and separate the pages that we're gonna use so that in the moment I can just pass that page out to them, because our social studies time is so short. Trying to save like even a minute or two when I can is precious. So I did that. Then I was trying to work on math plans for next week. Now that is also a glimmer. Math is planned out for next week. So pat myself on the back for that one. And then I felt like I was just constantly meeting with other people because people would pop in my room to ask a question. And I was trying to touch base with other teachers who need to be involved for conferences. So whether that's special educators or tag teachers, etc., as I'm prepping stuff for conferences, touching base with them to make sure like, hey, what input do you have? Do you want to be a part of conference? When's your availability? etc., etc. Then I did end up meeting with the long-term sub who is moving into another position, but she has been the long-term sub since a little bit after the start of the school year for my team teacher who's on maternity leave, to go through the conference forms. And even though I spent like, I don't know what it was, 10 hours over the weekend prepping the conference forms, us going through just to talk about reading and writing took longer than I expected. And after that, I then had to like prep all of this stuff. So go ahead and send out the emails to start scheduling the conferences. Of course, as parents have signed up for a conference, I'm trying to keep track of like organizing it all so that I know like what days am I meeting and what's the progress of the conference. So let me show you that conference tracker. I think I might have shown this last year in a vlog when I was talking about conferences. If so, I'll link it, but I'll also show you the updated version because I did change it just a little bit since I am doing all of this conference prep and organization and scheduling and management on my own. And I'm used to having a team teacher to kind of buddy up and split the responsibility with, but now that it's all on me, I'm a little overwhelmed if you can't tell. Okay, so this is an example of the Google Sheet. Now, the Google Sheet technically has two like actual sheets to it, the conference status sheet and then the conference schedule sheet. So starting with the status sheet, you will notice there are two sides to it. So one side for my homeroom class and then the other side is for my team teacher's homeroom class because again, I am kind of organizing all of it. But for each side, there is a spot to put student names and then a checkbox for when I have sent the skills check. I showed this in my prior vlog, so go back and watch that if you don't know what I'm talking about for the skills check, but it's basically like a one-page overview that I am filling out for every single student. Now, if I am not having a conference with that family because I don't have any concerns, I am sending that fall skills check in an email next week. I've already scheduled all those emails to go out. Once they actually send, I can go through and check those students off. So for example, if this was a student that I don't need to request a conference with, once I send that email, I can check it off and then that one is done. And you'll notice for those, I also am graying out the cells. That way I know like I don't need to schedule a conference. But if it is a student that I need to schedule a conference with for a variety of reasons, I have these little drop downs. So the options are need to send email to schedule conference, email sent to schedule conference, which thankfully they are all either yellow or down. I've already sent all the emails. Then there's also conference scheduled. Some of them are gonna take place during a 504 meeting. If a parent requests a conference, so for example, once I send home that fall skills check, I may have parents who are like, hey, I wanna meet, then I can choose that, and then conference completed. So if I need to send the email, I have it as read. Now, again, I've already sent all of those, so they have been progressing to yellow and underneath. Once I have sent the email, I then wait for them to schedule a conference, and I set mine up through an appointment schedule using Google Calendar. So when they sign up, I get an email notification. So once I get an email that they have signed up, I change it to conference scheduled, and I put in the date and the time that they scheduled the conference, and I put in the Google Meet link or the Zoom link. So for example, if it's taking place during a 504 meeting, I'm actually not scheduling that. My assistant principal schedules that, but it is a Zoom link. So I put in whether it's Google Meet or Zoom, and then I attach the link. In addition to having it here on the spreadsheet, I also add it to the conference schedule because I feel like even though this is really helpful, I need more of a sequential order of like, here's when the conferences are taking place. So I already kind of went in and like time blocked. Now this is not real because that's my husband's name, but this is an example. If it's like, all right, today during my planning time, I have a conference with this student, I put the parent name, that way when I meet with them, I know how to address the parent because as you all know, like the parent names don't always coordinate with the student names and it sometimes gets confusing. I will copy and paste that conference link. So once I link it here, I literally will just take this cell, copy it, and then I'll come over to the schedule. I will put it here and paste it. Then once I've completed the conference, I will check it off and I send a follow-up email where I share with them the fall skills check so I can check that off once it is done. So these are going in the order that I am scheduling the conferences. Going back to the status, once I have actually completed the conference, I would change this to conference completed. And once I have sent that fall skills check, I can check it off. So my ultimate goal is to have all of these check boxes checked off and then have all of these be either gray or purple. So visually, it just helps me to know that like any other colors or any boxes that are not checked means it's not done yet. And it has both classes on, one spreadsheet, easy to see. So that's what I am doing this year. So that was Tuesday. That was my PD day. I ended up having to stay pretty late and then therefore at the gym to get my training session in, I felt very rushed. And then that leads me to yesterday, which was Wednesday, because I feel like I'm now in this cycle where those feelings of overwhelm are just carrying into the next day. And I know I need to try to break that cycle, but it's also hard because as I mentioned, I feel like I'm doing everything I can and like still barely scratching the surface. And even when I try to get ahead, it doesn't last and it's a lot. So again, I'm trying to like stay positive, but at the same time, I wanna be realistic. So yesterday, Wednesday, I was here for 12 hours. From the time I got here in the morning at 5:30 until the time I left at night at 5:30, I was here for 12 hours. And as I mentioned, there's things that I have gotten ahead on, like math planning for next week is all done, so I wasn't even focused on that. It's just all the other things. Let me go through my list, because again, I had to write stuff down just to kind of keep my brain sane. But yesterday, I think, was a little bit more overwhelming because it was the transition day from the long-term sub to the new sub that is taking over. Therefore, it was a lot of like trying to get things squared away for that. In addition, we had an investigation yesterday for science that I had to prep because all of a sudden Tuesday afternoon, I'd already stayed after school for 2 hours past when I was planning to, and it was like, I still haven't prepped the investigation. And I just said, Michelle, you'll get it done Wednesday, it's fine. And so yesterday morning when I came in, I had to prep that investigation. I had to look at our second step lesson that I had to teach. Usually we teach second step, which is our social emotional learning program that we use. We do that on Monday, but because there was no school Monday and Tuesday, it got pushed to Wednesday. So I had to look at that, figure out what I was doing for that. I had to figure out my lunch bunch because Wednesday is when I hold my lunch bunch with my Golden Emersons for the week. I have a Golden Emerson in my morning and my afternoon class. They can each invite up to 3 friends for the lunch bunch, which means I had to get sticky notes to put on their desk to be like, hey, who do you want to invite? And then once they told me, I had to get those passes written. I just have these little like slips that I fill out and it just says like, hey, lunch bunch invite. And I put their name on it, but that way the student knows like that's today and they know what to do.
If you don't hear from me by lunch, call me.
So I had to get those prepped. I had to meet with my team teachers for math and science planning, so I didn't have any like actual planning time. And even once we finished meeting for math and science, I had like 10 minutes left of planning, but I had a student who brought in treats to celebrate their birthday, and so I had to get those all ready so that when my students came back from specials, we could have those treats. And again, I had to prep that during my planning time because I didn't have time in the moment because we were doing an investigation and our time was already short, all of the things. And then after school, my team teacher, who is like kind of our go-to person for reading, who is supporting my team teachers who's out on maternity leave, supporting that sub with the reading instruction. Her and I were after school with the sub trying to get them situated and trying to organize stuff in the classroom and get Tuesday folders situated and get the social studies plans and the math plans, and then figuring out like all of the things after school. And then all of a sudden yesterday I looked at the time and I said, oh my gosh, it's 5:30. I was supposed to be at the gym like an hour ago. And therefore by the time I left here, got to the gym, got my training done, Billy had a late meeting last night. And so I had to cook dinner. Usually I don't cook on Wednesdays. I didn't eat dinner until 8:30 at night. And by the time I ate dinner, showered, finished up for the night, it was 10 o'clock. And then it's like, okay, I need to get in bed and try to get sleep, and it's a lot. So let's kind of table that for now. And I do want to talk about some good things, because there are always glimmers if you choose to look for them. First glimmer, yesterday we got our fall pictures in. So as teachers, we are given these little samples of our pictures. I don't know what we're supposed to do with these. I typically put them like in a frame and I'll put googly eyes on them, and then I'll just sit them on student desks randomly, which is probably not what I should do with them, but I don't know what else to do. And I'm happy that my picture turned out like decent. It's not my best picture ever, but it's fine. I have a tradition now where I wear the gold sequined golden Emerson jacket, and I like seeing it in the pictures. It's just kind of now like my thing. As I mentioned, math plans for next week are done. So yay. We did a science investigation yesterday and I got to use those new trays for the first time, and I think it worked out great. We were testing different items with a magnet to see if they were magnetic or not, and my students did a great job with it. We fit it all in. I have everything done up until this point that I can do for conferences. As I mentioned, everything is scheduled, and I'm just kind of updating that spreadsheet as we go, as the conferences get scheduled, but I've done everything I need to get done. Today we have Makerspace, so that'll give me a little bit of a chance to catch my breath. I'm giving a graded math assignment today, so I'm gonna try to get some of that graded while my students are doing Makerspace. I'm also gonna have them make a card for our custodians, because next week is Custodian Appreciation Day, and that's something I can take off of my plate. I'm not gonna make the card. My students are gonna make the card during Makerspace. And then also today, I get to go to the office at some point and pick an envelope, because I'm participating in our fall gift exchange. I didn't do it last year, but it's like something our Sunshine Committee, or they're like our social committee, orchestrates, but you have the opportunity to participate. You pick a random person and you surprise them with like a fall gift. So it just brings some cheer, and I love gift giving. You all know that, so I'm very much looking forward to that. Do I have other good things? Let me look at my list. No, that's it, but that's fine because it's good things. Now, I don't have a ton of like instruction updates to share. Here's what our science word wall is looking like. After doing the investigation yesterday, I actually had these from last year. I had placed one of each item that we tested in a baggie, and I labeled them magnetic and non-magnetic, and then I just used these little magnetic clips to hold them up, and that way I will reference it for the investigation. But today we're gonna read in the textbook and take notes. So we will update our word wall. Also, I found the picture cards that I had from last year in my drawer. They were kind of shoved in the back. So I was able to get those added for the previous weeks. And then here is what our end of module 2 word wall looks like for math. Technically today we are starting module 3, which it's kicking off with area and perimeter, like the formulas, and then some problem solving and multiplicative comparisons. But I don't want to swap over my word wall yet because I am giving a graded assignment today. I just create these graded assignments based on like their exit tickets and some of the homework problems that we don't use. So I'm using questions and things from the curriculum, but just somewhat adapting them, like changing the numbers and whatnot, to create like a 1-page sheet that I can then grade. Last year, we did not have these 2 lessons on input-output tables, so I created this assignment from scratch, and now we'll have it for next year, which is good, but because it is going over input output tables. And then I did try to tie in like some perimeter at the bottom, even though that was not part of module 2, we are touching on it today. So they will have had exposure to it prior to doing the graded assignment. And technically, this isn't really a perimeter question, it's an input output table question. But trying to, blend the two together, I want them to be able to have this to reference. So after that, I will go ahead and erase it and reset it for the next module. And then for social studies, we are taking our end of the unit test tomorrow. But yesterday, I laid out all of the stickers that I had gotten. I'm still waiting on the Texas ones to come, but the other ones that I got from Amazon, which I had another pack come in. So it was a lot of stickers. I just laid them all out on my back table. And when my students came in yesterday, I said, hey, you get to pick a sticker to like kick us off with our social studies notebook. So they all picked a sticker, and it's just cute seeing like the ones that they choose and asking them why they chose that, or having them come talk to me about it. And then throughout the rest of the year, like as things come up, if they're all doing a great job on something, or like an assignment goes really well, hey, everyone gets to choose another sticker. But that was another little glimmer. So let's talk about moving forward. And like, I'm dumping all of this on you. What does this mean for you, and why am I sharing this? You all know I'm a very positive person, or at least I try to be. And while I think that that is beneficial, I also know that it's not realistic to feel that way all the time. And so part of the reason I want to share this with you is because I think it's important for me to show you all like, hey, I get overwhelmed too. I get stressed out, and even though I think I handle it well for the most part, and I'm able to find those glimmers, and I'm able to be positive, at the same time, like I kind of reach a breaking point too. And there's only so much I can do. And I think for me personally, I get frustrated when I feel like I put in a ton of effort, and then it's almost like it's still not enough, or it doesn't make a difference. Then it's like, okay, well, what now? I think that's the biggest thing, is then I feel like I no longer have control, and that bothers me as a control freak. So I wanted to share this with you just to be real and honest. And also, like, these vlogs are a way for me to document my journey as a teacher, and it's not all sunshine and rainbows. And even though I can rationalize in my head and know that this time is temporary, I feel extra overwhelmed right now because of my team teacher being out on maternity leave. Plus, I also know a big contributing factor right now is the fact that I am in prep for this powerlifting meet. And that contributes for a lot of different reasons. First of all, I'm at the point of my prep where I'm doing my heaviest lifts, therefore I am physically tired. Plus, I'm just mentally tired because preparing for a meet, it does take a lot out of you. You're constantly thinking about like, well, what do I need to do to prepare for my training session today? And what do I need to do tonight in order to set myself up for success tomorrow? And then you're thinking about anticipating like your heavy lifts. And then I'm starting to think about the competition and where do I want my numbers to be? And it's a lot. And so you put that on top of teaching, and plus knowing that when I'm prepping for a meet, that physical exhaustion leads to me being tired. I'm also currently in a calorie deficit in order to prep for this meet because it is a weight class sport. I have to weigh in. And in order to compete in the weight class I want to compete in order to qualify for nationals, like I'm hungry, I'm tired, I'm just all of the things. And I know that that contributes a lot. And I have to remind myself, like, that's a choice. I choose to compete, and that's part of the process. But I think I also just have to remember, like, Michelle, you probably would feel better if, this meet was done. And I know in another 2.5 weeks, that will be off my plate. And I think that that will definitely help. But in the meantime, I have to realize I can't do it all. And I have to acknowledge that I'm getting these feelings of overwhelm, and I can't just let them pile up. I have to change something, right? I have to do something different in order to make myself feel better. I have to take care of me. So with that being said, I think I've come to the conclusion that I need to take some things off my plate. Therefore, I'm gonna cut back on vlogs rather than putting out 2 a week. It's definitely gonna go down to 1, and there may even be some weeks where you don't hear from me for a week, and I'll get back to you when I can. But realistically right now, like I have to take care of me. And if that means I can get an extra hour of sleep, or I can get some more things done for my students in class so that I have less to do in the future, because it's like, oh, I have to prep sub plans because I'm gonna be out for my meet and just all of those things. That is priority right now. So that being said, my vlogs will be less frequent. I will vlog when I can, and I'm not even going to apologize for it. I'm gonna say this is me setting an example for other teachers of, you've got to take stuff off of your plate. If you're feeling overwhelmed, you have to make changes and reduce your workload so that you can take care of yourself. And that's what I'm doing. And I'm going to proudly state that and follow through with it. So, thank you if you're still watching for sticking with me until the end. I appreciate you. And hopefully this vlog wasn't, a downer and didn't make you feel worse, but more than anything, I hope it made you feel less alone if you're feeling the way that I am, but also can be an example for you of it will pass, because there will be a future vlog where I'm like, hey, I feel good again. Like, I feel like I've got it all under control. That's not me right now, but I know that I will get there. And so by documenting this, it's showing that process and showing that it does get better. And you have to remember it's temporary. And if this vlog was helpful for you in any way, shape, or form, give it a thumbs up. I don't know if you feel that way or not, but it helps communicate to me what content you want to see on my channel. So I appreciate it. Hit the subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. I will see you at some point. I don't know when, but stay tuned. As always, thank you for watching. I really do love you so much. And even in these moments, and this is me telling it to myself too, don't forget to put your positive pants on. But I will catch you in the next one.